What's going on, fellas? We have the empty broadcast versus quarters today, and we're going to start right off the top with what is going on with this curl flat pattern. We know that versus empty, the outside corner is going to trigger down versus that curl flat combination, and it's gonna bust. Okay, so this is happening in covered versus 3x1, and it's also happening in empty spread sets like this. Okay, the way I call this is empty 3x2. We have three receivers to the right, we have two receivers to the left. So this is the same problem we just talked about in 3x1. We're gonna have to play Meg with our outside corner to the three receiver side. Okay, so I just wanted to start the video there just so that we know what's going on, and we could just go on from there and live with that for now. Okay, hopefully it works out for us and we don't have any issues. Okay, so 3x2 empty. Okay, right now I'm in a playbook where I'm in nickel normal. So I do have a linebacker walked out here. Okay, this could be a bad matchup depending on who's in the slot. But the good thing about this quarter flat defender is that he doesn't have to take anybody deep, okay, unless he runs a wheel. So you should feel pretty good about that. You can still play with linebackers, but I would suggest if you see somebody come out and empty to find a dime formation that has quarters, okay? Even if it's 2-3 dime, 2-3-6 dime, all right? But the rules are to the front side. We're gonna play our regular quarters rules that we just did in cover 3. Okay, I'm sorry, against 3x1. Apologize. So we have our corner right now. We know he's playing Meg on number 1. Our safety, he's going to key 2, right? And he's basically going to right now play a little bit of depth. He's going to basically stay on top of 2 if 2 goes vertical. There are times he might help out with 3, but we can't rely on that, okay? The backside safety, away from the passing strength, this is the golden rule. How many receivers are aligned to his side of the field? If it's 1, then he can be a poach safety and come over and take number 3, correct? But if there's 2 receivers to his side of the field, like you see on the screen, he has to play what? Quarters. So he's not eligible to come over and help out and play poach on 3 strong. So because of that, that's where the linebacker here needs to take number 3 vertical if he runs anything down the field, because there's no guarantee that there'll be help from this safety, all right? Because if 2 goes vertical, he's going to take that. So that's the responsibility for the 3 receiver hook, which is a lot to handle, and a lot of times this is our user. So this has always been the golden rule, right? If 3 goes vertical, right, we got to take them, and in this case this is you one-on-one. Now you could, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to man up this guy if I know he's running a deep route, okay? But I have to highly suggest that you're going to have to user this player, and you're going to have to play this responsibility, okay? You don't have any other choice if you want to play quarters. And unfortunately, I would jump into palms or some other coverages, but I feel like this can be pretty good against this set. We need to have quarters aligned ready for empty this year, because I'm not 100% sure palms is going to help us out unless they patch the problem with the nickel, okay? So your responsibility is the same thing you had. You relate to 3. Now, instead of playing off his low inside shoulder, I would probably stay even to on top of this guy, knowing that you have to go deep, but you're going to relate to 3 and pretty much man him up, okay? I mean, that's pretty much the job that you do. I won't say that it's going to happen all the time, but I'm just trying to make it simple. If he does run a quick out, then you know you could just play the hook zone, okay? Over here, there's no different than in 2x2. Our quarter flat defender is going to take 2 to the flat. He's going to work on anything under 10 yards. He's going to match that. And then our 2 players over here are just playing how they would in quarters, okay? No different. We got mod corner on the outside, and then we have a safety reading 2 to 1, okay? Corner reading 1 to 2. Now, I would say if you want to press, this is the side that you can press, right? And you know that this is no different than a 2x2 spread, that if this corner is in press, he's going to play what? Meg, okay? So that's just something to think about. So that's the defense. Let's go through some routes. Let's actually try to get to some routes on the field. I know what the routes would be, so it's going to be, I'm going to man up the tight end. I'm sorry, man up the 3 receiver hook if I know the route. If it's a deep one, just to simulate how I would user it, okay? If it's a short route, we're just going to let the computer play it out, if that makes any sense. All right, let's go with good old quick game. Let's start there. Like I said, quick game is not playing that great right now. The slants are getting open. On the left-hand side of the screen, let's focus on that. We've always talked about this. This is the quarter flat player. All right. He's a 2 to 3 read player. Where's number 3 aligned? On the right side of the screen. So 3 is away by alignment. Okay. So if 2 tries to run inside in this play, he needs to try to wall this a little bit. Now, he's not going to stay on it forever, but he needs to try to stay in this window so the ball's not thrown quickly. And I think the computer does a decent job of that. Here, this is a route that's thrown short. All right, this is a short breaking route. So he's going to let this corner's going to let that go. And this safety is the only one that can make a play on this side. On the right-hand side, I think we have just, what do we have here? I apologize. Yeah, we just have stick. So everybody's going to play this pretty easy on this side. We're going to get our Meg corner playing 1, our quarter flat player playing 2, and then our 3 receiver hook player relating to 3. He should be in good shape, so I don't have to put him in man coverage here, okay? All right, let's just see how it happens in the backside. Okay, there's still a little hole there. That's where you see the computer cheating there. The computer should never come running over to that side of the field. He should relate to 3. Let me just get this done again. Okay, I mean, that is a linebacker. You know, he is not the most athletic guy. This is why I said maybe you want to put a safety there or play dime coverage. All right, but you can see how the 3 receiver hook is the linebacker, the computer player is playing basically in the middle of the field. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be relating to 3. He should be sitting there right off his hip. So watch the computer and watch how they cheat in the middle. They're actually opening up that stick route right here. If this is you, you would go play that stick route, right? On the backside, there's that little slant window is kind of open, but it's okay. You're going to have to kind of live with this until they fix quarters when it comes to quick game, okay? They don't really have this down yet. It's going to take them probably another 3 years to do this or something like that. All right, let me just double check something real quick. I know I'm in match coverage. Yep, that wasn't a problem. All right, let's go to another play. Try to work ourselves down the field. The curl flat route, we understand it. That's not anything we need to probably even talk about. 4 verticals, let's just look at it. So one thing I'll say, when you get an empty, a team that plays empty, something you want to find out is like what type of routes are they running out of empty. To me, I call this this is obviously an empty set. It's 3x2, but the type of route looks very similar to if I came out in 3x1, right? Trips 3x1, and I ran all go or 4 verts, where the running back there is running that little out route. That's no different than him running like a check down route, right? So that's something to think about just in general. And I'll talk deeper in that when we get to some strategy. You know, if you guys have any more questions, but that can dictate some of your coverages. So this is really playing like a 3x1 route here. We know that. But however, this safety on the backside, we can't rely on him to come over and play number 3. All right. So because of that, I'm going to man up right now for the computer's sake on this route because you know he's going deep. And let's see what everybody else is doing here. All right. So that's pretty much covered up, right? You know, the hard down is on that 3 receiver hook. That's your user. You have the hard down. So that's going to be your job to try to run with that guy. And that's the unfortunate situation we're in right now because Palms is not there for us. If you guys don't know what Palms is, we could talk about that another time. But that's used to be my favorite way of playing 3x2 empty. But that's going to be your responsibility as the linebacker, okay? Let me just show you real quick. If I did this with no adjustment, watch the linebacker, the computer linebacker, right? He actually did run with that. Let's take a look at it again. I don't think they have that programmed perfectly. Let's take a look. I'm wondering if it's because of the type of route he's running. Okay, he came off there. If you saw him come off at the last second. But if this guy was to run, which is not really realistic, I always said this guy's running straight like this is not very realistic. You're also going to run into the other safety. But you can see that there's really nobody there to cover the tight end. You need to make sure you relate to him. If anybody wants to try it out and let the computer play with that guy, I would highly recommend to maybe user this safety, okay, and play behind it. Now, I'm going to talk about some advanced techniques that I've learned over the years and how to play empty. And, you know, I'll talk about that in another video. That'll be more advanced. I want this to be more basic. But there are certain things that you can do, with your defense to kind of cover up for the potential of 3 going vertical. And that's going to be mainly having to do with that safety that I have highlighted right there, okay? All right, let's go see another play. I hope you guys like this style. We're trying to get through more plays. If you guys are just listening to this in the background while you're working on your Madden game or whatever, you know, you look up when you think you need something, right? All right, here's another 4 vertical combination. This is really not much different. Again, it does play like 3x1 with just a check down coming from left to right. Let's just let the computer play this one out and see what happens. Okay, so this backside safety ended up being free. There was no route for him to play. He ended up making the pick, but at the same time, you can't rely on that. Obviously, if I was to do anything else, if I put number 2 on a deep out or anything vertical, he wouldn't be there. But again, if you're using the linebacker, then maybe you can see if that safety's there, you can kind of fall off late. But I would definitely stay on his hip and not take a chance on that. That route's really no different. Let's get into some other type of routes that we can see. Let's go with trail shake. I'm trying to call plays that I know that are sound plays, but also people run these plays. People like this little slot receiver that, you know, versus man-to-man. Last year, that the slot receiver Watson with his middle read route there, when he ran the post versus split safety defense, man split safety defense, or even zone, he would get a good break versus man. So people used to run this a lot. I'm going to try to run this play a little bit this year myself. But anyway, let's just see here now, because I didn't talk about it, but the 3 receiver hook player potentially should start to wall number 3, right? That's his same rule from 3x2. He starts the wall, then he lets him go, which happens too much in Madden. You know, from a standpoint of realistically in a game, if you have a good D-line, then that's enough for maybe for a quarterback to come off of the tight end. But he starts the wall, right, and then he kind of lets him go. Now the nickel or the quarter flat defender to the left doesn't have an out by 2, so he does free up, and he's there to help out. But, you know, that's just the way it goes. And here goes the golden rule for this player. If 3's away, so this time 3's aligned to him, so he's, you know, this is what he sees. But if 3 goes away from him, which is an inside breaking route, and 2 goes away, match 2. All right, don't let that just be an easy completion right there. So I know I talked about this. If you go back and watch my video from last year, I've talked about that rule, and I don't think they played it right, but it seems like they kind of are doing a better job. Let me see that post route. I apologize. This is the post. He's going to probably convert to a post, a split safety defense. Nope, he didn't. Sometimes versus split safety defense, I'm not sure what the rules are with the middle read player. I think sometimes they treat that like a single high. I guess maybe cover 0, so they just run straight. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. Let's look at the middle high low. This is a divide concept. So the middle high low, divide in the middle. So this should be an easy down for pretty much everybody here. I'm curious to see what happens with this fade route of 2 to the left. I'm sure the safety's going to play it. And he does. Good. And also this safety to the front side did a good job. Stayed on 2. Again, I talked about this before. It seems like the safeties are playing a little bit more passive this year. They're not necessarily like... They're backing up and kind of stay over the top of stuff, which is fine. It allows your corners to be more aggressive. But this is a good job, okay? And then, like I talked about this before, this type of route, you don't know if that's an over route, so you're going to end up, if you're a 3 receiver hook player over the tight end, you're going to end up in that same position. But this route's pretty good. Now, the backside over here, I've always talked about, yeah, that's kind of no man's land for that corner. Again, mod, right? So I know people call it different things. I know some people are used to calling it, what is it, man outside and deep. That's what mod stands for. I learned it different. I just learned it basically man deep. Anything over 10 yards, man over depth. We call it the 10 yards. But here, this kind of in-between zone, this corner might jump this. I've seen this happen. It's no different than a curl. I know he's running at an 8. Okay, you would like to see the corner fall off, but that's okay. As long as that safety is doing his job and playing that route pretty well. So it's interesting. I just want to make a little side note. Like the safeties themselves, the way they kind of play these routes like this, like you see how they kind of get width, and they really do a good job of like sitting with more patience. Like they're not opening up and running right now until they need to. That seems like they've programmed that to be that way. And also I've noticed that some of the bugs that we've seen against some of the compression sets, they play it that way too. So it's almost like, again, they fixed something so it's good versus one formation, but not good versus the next, okay? All right, let's try to get some let's look at the same fade route combination, but to the strong side. I'm going to make sure that I put the corner in Meg, because that's what we're going to have to do in fear of one play. I can't believe it. I hope these guys are somehow tied into what's going on. I might have to make a public video about this again, just to make sure. Now, this looks damn scary, right? We know we're about to get a fade route or two, but let's see if the safety does a good job and gets over there. And it's the same thing on the other side. The safety does a pretty good job. Again, if this was, I don't want to talk about palms, because guys who've never seen my stuff probably don't know maybe what palms means, but I will say that the safety, his footwork is so much cleaner in quarters. You know, in palms, he's all over the place. But here, he's just pedaling back, and then he just goes. That's perfect by the strong safety. That's good work. All right. I'm trying to focus on little things here. I think that's good for that formation. We already talked about this. I don't foresee the double N being a problem here, but let's take a quick look at it. I know I have my user on the just sitting there. Okay, so that's a little bit of an issue. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Let's take a look at this. All right, so this kind of goes back to what I've said, this left of screen safety. Sometimes he doesn't do his responsibility. Like, I don't know why he's leaving this alone. He should definitely match up on that. Again, the programming for that safety is a little wonky, man. It's a little wonky. Now, number 2 runs that deep in, so the safety there does a good job. I believe that was the nickel who did that. That was a good job by him. Let me take a look at that real quick. Give me 1 second here. All right, cool. The nickel, yeah, I think the nickel fell back inside. He didn't have any work, so he just came back and made the play on this dig route. Again, the computer is sitting there trying to wall number 3 for a little bit. So it's not, you know, again, I'll say this, guys. Empty, I think we can call cover 4 quarters to it. I just wouldn't live in this. This would be more of a change up, just so you know. I wouldn't come out and try to run this all day, all right? If we have slot sale out of this new chip formation, it's not new. It's actually been in the game. But chipper formation is really no different to me than 2 backs in the backfield. Both those guys are going to try to be in protection, and then they're going to run out. So you can basically be in some sort of max coverage, and you should be fine to play against this stuff. All right, let's take a look at the corner route. That's going to take forever to break, but it looks like the safety was about to play it. I'm not sure what's going on with the chipper protection, if it actually helps or hurts. All right, but the safety's there to make a play. So that's no different than if I ran like I formation flood, right? No different, same idea. You got to group these things in the family sometimes so that it makes life easier as a defensive coach. You know, this curl switch is kind of the same idea of a problem that we had when we were under center quarters. I put the video out early in the cycle, like the first week, how this post route gets open versus quarters, because that safety does the same thing. He just doesn't stay with it. And it looks like he did the same thing there. The only good thing was that the backside safety didn't have any quote-unquote work, so he just was there to help out. But watch the safety left of screen. I know I'm way back here, guys. Apologize. He's kind of like, he's not going to play this route. I'm not sure why. Now, I did just give a formation that had a compression over there. So, again, I may not call this defense versus this. So let's just leave that alone. I'm going to come back and talk about compressions at the end of this and maybe my solution to try to, you know, get around that stuff. But I didn't realize that was compression. But here's a perfect example, the last one I'll show for empty, of going deep down the middle. And if you don't put your linebacker on him, this is what's going to happen. All right. So that's one of the more popular plays. I have it in my playbook for people who don't understand quarters, but they think they do. All right. So this is the bad thing that happens in quarters, because technically that strong safety has to play 2 on the corner route, right? The other safety is playing 2 on his corner route. Let's take a look at this again. All right. So we got 2 corner routes by the number 2s on both sides, right? So as they work down the field, you know, they have to play those routes. Now, this safety does kind of like help out a little bit here late, but it's too late. So again, if you are going to not play with the middle linebacker, I highly suggest to put him, the 3 receiver hook player, in man, or you use him yourself. Okay. So just showing you what my technique does look like if you don't put your corner in mag. Right, you see how the one stops short. In real life, we would say China. That would get the quarter flat player to get out to the flat. And then now look how the corner can sit there and basically help out on number 2. It's not his main responsibility, but you expect him to be there in quarters. I'll just end it with this. Quarters is one of these things where, as you guys know who love the defense, you should always be like, since we're kind of in a sense always +1 in most places, there's always somebody free, right? So you have 7 guys in coverage, you have 5 guys who are running routes. So you're going to get your matchups. You're going to get 5 guys potentially matching up man to man, but you're going to get 2 players on the field somewhere that can help out, right? So you don't know if it's going to be you, but a lot of times when you don't have work in quarters, there's always something you can do. It's one of the mentalities that I used to teach my players. Don't just sit there and play grass, right? Look to help out on the closest route next to you. If you don't have any work and you're underneath, there's probably something coming back towards you. It's probably going to be a shallow route. So be ready for it. Don't just sit there and react late. But empty, I would say that I would still probably be a little bit man heavy versus empty. I would even probably feel better playing cover 3 versus empty, play 3 seam. I feel like that's okay because you know the backside of that formation is playing seam. But quarters, if you want to just play with it, you kind of have an idea that they're not going to run 3 vertical, and you want to just play with it and use it, I would do it. It's a viable defense still. And right now it's more viable than playing palms because of the way the nickel is not playing 2 vertical, basically. He's dropping him after a while. So just want to put this out there, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. So we're going to jump back into compression sets tomorrow, and I have some solutions to maybe how to play quarters. If you really just want to play quarters and not think about playing different coverages versus, and you want to rock like that this year, I'm going to give you like an answer or 2 that maybe you can. Now, it's going to require a little bit of control work, a little bit of audibling or hot routing, as they say. I hate saying hot routes on defense, but you know what I mean. But I'll definitely give you some answers so that maybe we can do it. And it might be fun. It might be a little bit different. People may not know what you're in when you're playing quarters with these adjustments that I'll give you tomorrow. Okay, man? All right, Patreon guys. I appreciate you guys being here, man. I appreciate you guys doing this. Let's keep rocking. Like I said, videos every day, and we're going to keep on rolling. I'm going to be getting some gameplay videos in here soon. That's going to be real fun. And somebody asked about me putting a defensive playbook out. I like that idea. I'm going to put out a 4-3-1, a 3-4-1, and a hybrid one based off of the schemes that I like, which is, again, the schemes we're talking about, all the match schemes. And then I like man as well. I do like cover 1. So just want to let you know, I'm going to put that out here soon. I'm kind of working on it. I want to make it real clean. I'm not going to make a book. I was going to give out a book of like all the formations and all that stuff, like just every single formation, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to promote people running custom books and running every single defensive formation. I can't stand when people do that. It's very irresponsible for me to do that because I don't think people understand how to fit the personnel with the scheme, and that's just as important as anything else. All right, guys. Talk to you guys later, man. Peace.